let's talk about the incident that really sparked this whole thing here. And I tweeted when Carson Hocevar spun Corey Heim, I sent this tweet out. I said, that kid's got a lot of talent and also a lot of maturing to do. You know, Brandon, we saw him in the truck with the onboard camera and obviously very, very frustrated with himself and banging his fist against the steering wheel, appeared to be very remorseful in his post-race interview. Does NASCAR need to start dropping the hammer a little bit more and penalizing drivers, whether it's intentional or not, for what Carson Hocevar did, and then what Corey Heim did back to him, which Heim says it wasn't intentional? That's, I think, laughable based on all the evidence and the situation that we had there. Does NASCAR need to start penalizing those situations for avoidable contact?
I mean, if you do, it sets the precedent, and you got to stay consistent with that policy. I really am kind of undecided here on this question because I was mainly listening over the radio at that point whenever that incident happened, and I didn't get home till later to see the rest of it. But I really thought, from just what I was hearing, I thought Hocevar was really driving hard, and that I thought it was a legit accident. And there's probably if there's some evidence that shows that he was intentional on that and he was trying to cover himself, then I haven't seen it yet. But I definitely heard where Corey Heim tried to cover his blatant retaliation as a mistake, which, you know, we've seen that book before, haven't we? A few times before. But yeah, sure, they need to stop. They need to start dropping the hammer like they have previously before, but they need to do it in the same way. It's such a complex and diverse set of circumstances that happen each and every time we bring this kind of conversation up, because each incident is completely unique from the other one.
Yeah, well, I'll just say this about Carson Hocevar. I'm not going to go so far as to I'm not in Carson's mind. I don't know exactly what his intentions were. I don't think the contact was unintentional. Maybe the spin was, taking it further than, he intended to, obviously. But thinking just back to Carson Hocevar's reputation and his history and similar incidents that he's been involved in the last couple of years, I don't know if there's a driver that's kept less of a benefit of a doubt in a situation like this than Carson Hocevar would have. And I think that the reaction that we saw from a lot of Cup Series drivers as well, and Tyler Reddick was very quick to tweet something out. Denny
that was out of left field to me.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin commented on the whole finish there. That Martin Truex Jr. was asked about it this weekend. He thought Hocevar was putting on an act, when he was, beating himself up over it and everything. I don't know that Carson's earned that benefit of a doubt based on similar situations that have happened in the last couple of years here. And I think for him in particular, talking about, what his future looks like and going to the Cup Series. I know we had this conversation with Ty Gibbs as well last year. Talent-wise, there was no question he's a future Cup Series driver and probably race winner. He just has a lot of maturing to do before we start, I think, taking him seriously as a weekly contender on Sundays. And I think the Cup Series guys that were watching this truck race, they're all going to know that, and they're going to know his reputation and how he's been known to race others. And I think what he's been able to get away with to a certain extent in a Craftsman Truck Series, he's not going to be able to get away with in a NASCAR Cup Series.
I mean, consider me hoodwinked. He had me convinced. If he was lying, he had me convinced. Corey Heim definitely didn't have me convinced. And I actually got a chuckle whenever I saw that he was claiming that it wasn't intentional. I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Like I saw that one.
It's like Matt Kenseth's right front tire going down.
Yeah. I've seen this one. I've seen this one before.
Yes. Yeah, but I'll just say this: there were people that were really quick, and we saw it with Kenseth too. At Martinsville, people got on social media, got on Twitter, got on Facebook or whatever, got into the YouTube comments, and were like, "Yeah, serves Carson right," and even Carson himself, I think, came across the radio and said, "Yeah, that's fair. That's payback. That's
See,
retaliation.
like that's enough evidence for me to be like, he did not mean that. If he's like, yeah, that's what I deserve. Give it to me. I'm sorry. He's like, I messed up, guys, didn't I? Yeah, I messed up. He was beating himself up. I genuinely believed him. And I mean, if he's actually lying, he's a good liar.
But I'll tell you what, if that's how Carson really feels, and I know that that's how a lot of fans feel, I'm sorry, I disagree with that. I don't think two wrongs don't make a right. I'm not a fan of intentional wrecks, and the fact that it's retaliation, the fact that it's a so-called justified dump, I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. What Corey Heim did honestly bothers me even more than what Carson Hocevar did, because Grant Enfinger was going to win this championship. And it would have been, it was my pick for the championship. I think it would have been the sentimental pick with GMS closing their doors at the end of this week, at the end of the year. I think that would have been a tremendous story. And I know that, again, take nothing away from Ben Rhodes. He survived the insanity that we saw. But this is my problem with a one-race winner-take-all format. This is my problem with a playoff system in motorsports that still involves the other 30 whatever it is competitors. You have a situation between two guys who are clearly no longer in the championship fight. It's clearly going to be Rhodes or Enfinger. But Corey Heim decides, I'm going to go get revenge on Carson Hocevar. If I can't win this championship, he can't either. And he wrecks him. Obviously, he brings out a caution. It neutralizes the field. It bunches them all up for another restart, and then chaos ensues. And the outcome has been altered between the two drivers that were in the battle for the championship. That outcome's now been altered based on something that neither of them did, that neither of them had any control over.
Because you let it be decided in a one race, Game 7, winner take all. And that's what you're inevitably going to get. That's what makes me the most upset. Just the stupidity that cost Grant Enfinger and GMS Racing a title. A sail off into the sunset. Like, there's nothing hindering that but an outside force that decided they wanted to cause chaos, and then everyone forgot how to drive for all the restarts onward.